What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. Today is a very exciting day. It is patch day. We just got the patch notes right now, April 18th. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is coming from the official Marvel Snap Discord. So token shop updates are first. Weekly Spotlight. When a new Series 5 card is released, it will be immediately featured in its own section for its first week in Marvel Snap. So this is something people have been asking for, is like when a new card comes out, like you just kind of have to get a chance that you're gonna get the card in your shop when the shop updates. So this is a very welcome change. This isn't maybe gonna necessarily affect a lot of players because, you know, Series 5 cards are still 6,000 tokens, which is a lot, but for the content creators and the whales of the game and people who like to spend a lot of money, this is a very good quality of life improvement. Then we have the ultimate variants. Ultimate variants are some of the most epic variants in the game. We felt they deserve their own section 2. We're moving ultimate variants out of the way of seeing Series 4 and 5 cards and into their own rotation for those of you who want to make your decks that much cooler. So this is also another welcome change because in the token shop, sometimes you would get these ultimate variants, which I still think are way too expensive. They're 5,000 tokens. I think you should be able, they should either be cheaper, like a lesser amount of tokens, maybe like 3,000 tokens, or just have you be able to purchase them with gold, right? Like other variants. But I digress. This is another great quality of life improvement because sometimes you might be waiting for a new card to show up and then you get an ultimate variant, and not a lot of people spend money on them because they're just very expensive. So another welcome change. And then we have Series 4 and Series 5. This section functions nearly the same as previously, but only features Series 4 and Series 5 cards. This section will feature a card you don't own from all currently available Series 4 or 5 cards and rotates every 8 hours. Series 5 cards will be added to the section once they leave the weekly spotlight. So I actually have the game up here real quick, and I can kind of show you what this shop looks like. Let me change the scene real quick. So this is what the updated token shop looks like here. As you can see, we have the Series 4, Series 5 kind of section. And I don't own Galactus yet, but he is in my shop, 6,000 tokens. I can pin him if I wanted to. I'm not going to because I'm saving my tokens for Jeff at the moment. But new card, 3 hours and 3.5 hours. And then we have the weekly spotlight, which will be where Jeff will go since he is the new card that is coming out. So whenever a new card releases in Marvel Snap, they will be available here in the weekly spotlight section. And then we have the ultimate variant section for those of you who just, you know, you got some extra money to blow, go for it. Ultimate variant right there, weekly spotlight there, and then Series 4 5 cards there. So that is very nice. Some very welcome quality of life improvements there. And let me go back to the other scene here. So we have a game board update. We made some updates to our game board. Check out the new art and FX. I haven't actually gotten into a game yet, so I don't know what changes they're referring to. Hopefully there's some cool changes in the future. I would like to see some custom game boards is sort of like a bonus cosmetic, right? A lot of other card games do that, where they offer different game boards with different themes and music and things like that. So I think that would be a cool thing for Marvel Snap to add in the future. Then we have the series drop. These were previously announced, but they are now official. Series 4 to Series 5 to Series 4, Ghost, Stature, MODOK. Series 4 to Series 3, Shuri, Bast, Valkyrie, Super Scroll, and Black Panther. I did a video ranking these cards in a tier list and kind of recommending which cards you should pick up and which cards you should avoid. If you want to watch that video, I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. And let me switch to the other scene here. Once again, you can kind of see just that these changes have gone live now. I have Bast in my shop because I actually don't own Bast, but this is one of the cards I've been wanting for a while now, and I'm actually going to go ahead and I am going to claim Bast right now. We are going to claim Bast live here. So we finally got Bast. Can play it in a lot of different decks, and it is now claimed. And then general updates. So players that reach infinite rank will only match against other infinite rank players. This is very nice. This is something people have been wanting for in a while, for a while now. One of the main reasons is that once someone gets to infinite rank, you can really just kind of like the snap mechanic is kind of just thrown out of the window, right? Like infinite rank players can snap and there's really no consequences because they can't drop below infinite rank. So let's say maybe you're trying to climb your way towards infinite and your opponent just like turn one snaps, right? And they're already infinite. There's no consequence for them to snap or to stay in the game if you snap. So it can be a little bit frustrating at times. Also, there could be just a big like range gap. Maybe like you're a rank 70 player playing against a rank, 100 plus player or whatever. So another nice good quality of life change. When you tap on a card for more details in the shop or collection, the card detail screen now features artist credits, card series, label, and variant rarity label. Okay, well actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and try that out for ourselves, huh? Why don't we try that out here? So let's go ahead. Let's bring up a card. Let's bring up let's bring up one of my Ant-Man, right? Just because I like to flex this one a little bit. Baby variant Scotty Young. It does say rare here. What if we pick like a series 3 card or something, right? Base card, series 3. Okay, yeah, series 3. Okay, so that's a nice little change. But can we filter by series? Because that's something I've been wanting to. I don't see like a series filter. Maybe what if we type in like series 3? No, it doesn't do that. Okay, so we're small steps, but we're getting there, right? It's something. I definitely still want some sort of series card filter, but baby steps. We're getting there. When inspecting cards in game, you can now flip them to see the card back in full detail. We've also updated other areas of viewing card backs to show their 3D details. Okay. Nice. After roughly 10 hours of gameplay in a day, players will stop earning season pass XP from gameplay for the remainder of the day. So kind of just like, all right, you need to go touch grass. You played Marvel Snap for 10 hours. It's touch grass time. And then collection level track has been extended. This only affects a small amount of players, but I know I think it's Kraken Null who was like collection level like 23,000 and he was about to hit the end. So this does help, it helps some people who are like at the end of the collection level track. So good for them, right? And then we have some audio changes here. New card sounds for Squirrel Girl, new location sounds for Camp Lehigh, added VO support for Thai and Indonesian. And then here we go, the big changes everyone has been waiting for. The balance updates. Let's see what they have to say about the balance updates. All right, let's get into it. In the wake of our last balance change, we saw the metagame settle into a much healthier shape than it had been before. However, we were too shallow with our adjustments to the Shuri Taskmaster decks. Yep, and Lockjaw Leech shells, both with and without Thanos, have remained solid contenders. Right. Today's changes aim to push both of those decks off their clear top spots. Outside of Shuri Taskmaster, the metagame is looking healthy on our internal metrics. Okay, so starting off with Shuri here. Previous 4-2 on reveal, double the power of the next card you play. Update 4-2 on reveal. If you play your next card here, double its power. So this is the change that I think myself and a lot of other people have been kind of voicing for. And the reason for that is because you can't play Shuri behind your Cosmo and then the big thing to be protected behind the Cosmo, right? So you have to play Shuri outside of your Cosmo lane, and then you play your big thing wherever you play that Shuri. So kind of like Rescue, right? Rescue has similar text where it's like if you play your next card here plus 5 power. So let's see what their comments say. We considered a number of changes to Shuri, but they all tended to ruin her current decks. Some even theoretically risk making a new monster with different parts. That's not a great risk to run when balancing a problematically strong card. The change we're making today may seem small and subtle, but we expect it to be impactful and retain the same flow of play for her existing decks, which is a consistent goal in our balance philosophy. This nerf removes Cosmo protective capacity for a target, makes single card answers like Valkyrie easier to aim, and indirectly buffs lane control elements like Professor X. We're taking a risk here in that this nerf could leave Shuri still a strength outlier, if so we'll react quickly. So I like this change. I think this is definitely the way to go with Shuri. I really like this change. The one thing I want to say is I wonder if they're going to revert the Red Skull nerfs, because they kind of even said it themselves that Red Skull never really was the problem. It was Shuri all along, right? Like, it was Agatha all along, but it was Shuri. Shuri was the problem all along, so maybe they'll revert the Red Skull nerfs, because I think Red Skull is actually a really cool card, like, outside of Shuri decks, right? Like, a 5/15 is really strong, but with its original downside of the +2 to all the cards, I think was an interesting ability to play with. But I digress. This is a great change. I'm really excited to see where the meta goes from here. And then next up, we got Leech. Oh man, I'm so excited. So excited that they're changing this card. Previous 5/3 on reveal, remove the abilities from all cards in your opponent's hand. To the new Leech 5/3, at the start of turn 6, remove all abilities from cards in your opponent's hand. So it is a nerf, but it is kind of like... I mean, overall, it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe they could have even nerfed it a little bit harder. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh, but I guess they don't want to go too hard on it for now. But basically, you can't cheat out Leech earlier with like a Lockjaw or like a Time Stone and just delete your opponent's hand like on turn 3, turn 4, right? So it only works at the start of turn 6. So yeah, I like this change. Again, maybe I'm a big Leech hater, I'm not gonna lie. So maybe like they could have nerfed him a little bit harder, but it's a start. It's a good step in the right direction. I'm glad they're changing Leech at all. Honestly, I was kind of thinking like, maybe they're not even gonna touch Leech, right? Because they didn't really mention Leech like in the previous developer blog. They kind of just mentioned Shuri was like the big one they were talking about. But let's read their comments. It's never been our goal for Leech to be a heavily played card, and we understand that it's been a frustration lately. When it's happening, it usually means a finisher is generically strong against pure power, like Leech Leader, and or a deck can play Leech earlier than turn 5 too often, like Lockjaw Thanos. We've tried in the past to weaken the stronger cards in those decks, but it's been a balance and design obstacle. Thus, we've decided to remove the early Leech from the equation. Leech is designed to counter some powerful endgame cards and combinations from a unique angle without any setup, which is important to have around in the event those decks begin to overperform. This change should let him fulfill that role when necessary without ever making him a foundational piece of the meta game. So overall, really like this change. Yeah, I kind of disagreed what they said in one of their previous blogs where they were like, oh, well, we nerfed Thanos and that was the only deck that Leech was played in, so we're not going to see that much Leech. And it was like, no, Leech is everywhere. Like, at least from my perspective, I don't know about you guys and your experience, right? But I was seeing Leech in Thanos, on reveal Lockjaw, in like mid-range good card decks. I was seeing Leech in Patriot, Leech in Movement. Like, what the hell? Like, Leech was everywhere. And a small little side tangent is that I kind of mentioned this on Twitter recently, but I have been playing a lot of tournaments lately, like daily tournaments, and you know, for the past few weeks. And every tournament I play in, I play against a Leech deck. Like, Leech is just such a dominant card, and it shouldn't be. Like, I think a card like Leech is a necessary evil in a way, right? Because he can counter a lot of different strategies on turn 6, but at the same time, it's just like he was just so prevalent, like in the tournament theme, right? Like, he was everywhere in tournaments, and it just felt so bad. It was just like, okay, well, my opponent's gonna Leech me, well, I just lose. Like, what do you do, right? Unless you play a Patriot deck, and I think that's why we saw kind of like the rise of Patriot decks in ladder and in tournaments as well. But kind of just a side tangent here. It's just, you know, overall, I'm happy that Leech is getting nerfed. Moving on, we got Lockjaw. Previous 3/2, after you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck. Update 3/2, after you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck once per turn. So no longer can you play Lockjaw plus like Wasp plus like 2 other stones. So it can only activate its ability once per turn. And I like this change. I think Lockjaw has always been a very strong card. I think if you look at some of the Series 3 only tournaments, I know Ocean Mud runs a weekly tournament where it's only Series 3 cards and below, and Lockjaw on reveal is like one of the best performers in that format, right? I think Ocean Mud himself won a tournament with a Lockjaw on reveal style deck, and it's an insanely strong card. Like, just being able to play a card, swap it out for a big thing, right? You play a Wasp, you get an Infinite. That's kind of an exaggeration, but it can happen, right? Or you play, there's a Thanos Lockjaw decks. You throw in like a Stone, and then you pull out like a Doctor Doom or something like that, right? So a very, very strong card. Let's see what they have to say on it. Lockjaw is a fun and exciting card, but each trigger of this good boy basically draws a card and generates up to 6 energy at random. That's a lot of variance to have in multiple competitive decks. As we add cards, new and improved ways to sidestep Lockjaw's risk will also become available. Since we believe the most powerful and frustrating use of Lockjaw is triggering him multiple times in turn, often with a snap along the way, we're changing that. Limiting Lockjaw to one swap each turn forces the player to develop their board without letting them sprint ahead or spring a late surprise. This will make Lockjaw simpler to play against and less potent in decks, incidentally playing lots of cheap cards like Thanos. So this is actually another nerf to the Thanos deck, right? So before it was Thanos was the #1 deck because the Quinjet made all the stones cost 0, and then you can just toss a bunch of 0 cost stones into your Lockjaw, pull out a bunch of big cards. And then now we've kind of seen after the Quinjet nerf, the next sort of evolution of Thanos decks was sort of like a Death Wave Thanos deck. Like we saw people were running Killmonger and Death. You would just kill all your stones, get a free death, and then you'd have cards like Wave, Doctor Doom, just a bunch of good cards, right? But now this is interesting. It seems like maybe the next big Thanos deck is going to be Ongoing Thanos, which it's been around, it's been in the meta, but it's never been the most strong Thanos deck, right? It's always been kind of behind like the Death Wave Thanos and like on reveal Lockjaw Thanos. So I don't know, maybe Ongoing Thanos will be the new top Thanos deck. I'm kind of excited to experiment with Thanos myself because I own Thanos, and I got him after the Quinjet nerf, so after he was busted, but he's still just insanely strong, right? Again, Thanos is another deck that just dominates the tournament scene. It's exciting. I do an experiment with Thanos and see what the best version of Thanos will be now. And I think this does really hurt those Lockjaw on reveal decks as well. So yeah, we'll see. But next up, we have America Chavez. Previous 6/9, you always draw this card on turn 6 and not before. Update starts on the bottom of your deck. Draw this on turn 6. They say previously, if you were about to draw America Chavez, you would just draw your next card instead. This means that over the course of the game, she's a lot more likely to be the top card of your deck. Thus far, this has been largely unimportant outside of Yondu, but it does restrict our ability to print cards that interact with the top of your deck. We expect this update to have little impact on America Chavez's functionality overall. So this one is more just like a text change. They're not messing with her numbers necessarily. They're not actually messing like with her ability directly. It's just kind of how it functions, right? So it's going to start on the bottom of your deck. So that means it's not going to get hit by Yondu anymore. That means it'll get pulled by Cable. I wonder if maybe this might even be... Maybe this is actually even like a buff in a little bit of a way, right? Because if you're... Maybe like... If your opponent's playing Cable, they're guaranteed to hit the America Chavez. So you have that information because... Let's say your opponent plays a Cable on you and they pull a card out of your deck. The game doesn't tell you what that card is, right? But now if you're running America Chavez, you know it's going to pull America Chavez. It doesn't get hit by Yondu. Huh. It is kind of an interesting card. I'm a big fan of America Chavez, so I don't think this will change too much. But I do like that they are kind of changing it to keep in mind of future cards, right? I think Howard the Duck is one of the the data mine cards. That's like his ability says like you can see the top card of your deck, right? So I think that's actually good for his ability, because you would just see America Chavez on the top, right? This actually gives you more info if America Chavez is on the bottom of your deck. So, interesting. Okay, not too much to say there, but it is interesting. Next up, we have Jubilee. 4/1 on reveal, add a card from your deck to this location. Update on reveal, still 4/1. Add the top card of your deck to this location. So kind of working in conjunction with America Chavez. So Jubilee is not going to pull America Chavez. So I wonder if maybe we can work something like a little bit more of a more consistent like on reveal style deck with like America Chavez and Jubilee. Let's see their comments. Some of our players may remember a time where Jubilee had this ability. Back then, Jubilee would often be a 4/10 as she pulled America Chavez very consistently. We decided at the time to change Jubilee's effect instead of America Chavez's, as the former was a much simpler change to communicate. However, we're looking to design cards that interact with the top of your deck in the future, so we're bringing this design back too. We expect this update to have little impact on Jubilee for the time being. So again, I think they're kind of prepping Jubilee to interact with Howard the Duck. So Howard the Duck is going to let you know what card you're pulling from the top of your deck, so you can kind of guarantee what Jubilee is going to pull. That is interesting. I may have to mess around with maybe like a Jubilee Thor, a Lockjaw Chavez on reveal deck. I don't know. It could be fun to experiment with. Again, I don't think it's like too big of a change, right? But in the future, I think this will have some implications. Like they said, once they print more cards that interact with the top of your deck. So interesting changes here. And then we have Leader dead after he got just insanely nerfed, and now could be making a comeback. Previous ability 6/7 on reveal. Copy all cards your opponent played to the location of here, but on your side. So just the absolute terrible ability, dead card. And now update 6/2 on reveal. Copy the enemy cards with the highest power played this turn, but on your side. So he's only going to copy, well, it says card with an S in parentheses. So he potentially could copy multiple cards if they have the same power, is how I'm reading this. But most of the time, he's probably only going to copy one card, which I think is a lot better than his previous ability, for sure, right? It's a lot easier to manage. And to offset that, they dropped his power from 7 to 2. And it's definitely not as broken as his original ability, right? We were clearly too harsh on Leader with his previous nerf, and were dismayed that action became a go-to example for how ruinous a nerf can be. Our balanced philosophy is to preserve as much playability as we reasonably can when weakening cards, and we didn't succeed here previously. With this change, we're aiming to bring his strength back up to a playable spot for a 6-cost card, but still avoid the oppressive impact his original form had. We have erred on the cautious side with his power for now, because some previous defenses against the original Leader, such as playing weaker cards before a strong one, no longer apply. So, judging by the reactions here, a lot of people seem to really like this update, and I like this too. It makes him a playable card. Like I was a big Leader hater. I was like the #1 Leader hater, but I didn't want to see his card dead, right? What I love about Marvel Snap is I want to say like almost all the cards have a purpose in the game, right? Like there's some cards that are just absolutely trash, unfortunately, which is a problem with every card game. But I think the thing about Marvel Snap is that every card has a purpose, and in other card games sometimes it feels like, well, why would you just play that when you could play X card, which is just a better version of Y card, right? And there may be some instances of that in Marvel Snap, but I think it's to a much lesser extent. So I really do like this Leader update. I don't know if I'm going to experiment with him myself. I kind of want to experiment with Jeff when he comes out, and some of these other changes. And then there's a whole bunch of bug fixes. I'm not going to read through every single one of them, but if you want to read through them yourself, they are available in the Marvel Snap Discord. And that is it for the patch notes today. Let me know what you think about the patch notes. I'm pretty excited. The meta has been stale for a few months now, dominated by Shuri and Thanos. I think Shuri and Thanos are still strong cards, but they are not going to be as overwhelmingly dominant as they have been before. So I feel like that opens up the meta for a lot more opportunity, as well as a series drop, right? Like more people have more access to more cards, which is always a good thing. So more cards, more people, you know, hopefully getting back into Marvel Snap. So let me know what you think about the balance patch update, and I'm going to be trying to experiment with Jeff later on today. So let me know if you unlocked Jeff. Let me know what cards you're picking up from the series drop, and thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Later.